Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 29th of October 2019. Today we are going to cover a few different topics. First of all, we're going to have a look at some setups. Then we're going to go over a question that Jonathan had. But before we do so, I'd like to tell a story that my brother shared with me yesterday, which I think was quite beautiful. And the story goes something like this. A man goes to a wedding. The wedding has taken place and he's at the reception afterwards, drinking wine and mingling with the other guests. And he sees a guy across the room who he recognizes. So he goes over to this gentleman. He says, "I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from?" And he's scanning his mind, trying to figure out where he knows this guy from. And then he realizes, "Hey, you're my third grade teacher." Now, this goes back many, many years. And the man says, "Yes, I used to teach third grade several moons ago." And he said, "Yes," he said, "but I don't remember you specifically." And he said, "Well, here's a story from class that you may remember." He said, "One of my best friends back in school, he came to school one morning and he had a brand new watch, and it was a beautiful watch. He received this from a friend or a parent or someone close to him. And the guy at the wedding, he thought to himself, well, I really want a watch like that, but I simply can't afford one. So he decided in recess to steal the watch from his friend. So he continued to do so. He took the watch. So the class returned back after recess, and the boy who had the watch once came back and said, "My watch is missing. I can't find my watch anywhere. Someone must have taken it." So the teacher went over, he closed the door, and he addressed the class, and he said, "We have a problem." He said, this boy's watch has been stolen, so I'm forced to keep all of you here and search your pockets until he find out who took the watch. And so he asked all the boys and girls to line up against the wall, and he went over to the first person, and he said to all of them, "I would like you all to close your eyes." So he went to the first person, he put his hands in their pockets, and he found nothing. He continued to the second person, did the same, still no watch. He came to the third person, who was the boy, and he found the watch in his pocket. He took the watch, and he went on to the fourth person, then the fifth person, and continued all the way until every person in the class had been searched. So he told this story to the teacher at the wedding. And the teacher continued, said, I don't remember you from this event." He said, "But I remember the event." And he said, "The reason I don't remember is because I also had my eyes closed when I was searching everyone's pockets." I think that was a very beautiful way to protect the integrity of a very, I suppose, vulnerable and young person in a time like that, because obviously he could have destroyed the person and made an example of them, but he chose not to. He asked everyone in the class to close their eyes so they couldn't see who had taken the watch, but he too also chose to close his eyes so that he wouldn't know who took the watch. I think that was a very beautiful story. Okay, so now back to trading. So today we're going to run through a bunch of pairs, and then we are going to get to Jonathan's question. So if we start on the Euro American dollar, what do we have here? Another quick thing, I've decided to, markets.com have asked to publish some of my videos, and so I'm allowing them to do this, and they want a more educational nature to the material. And so on Mondays and Fridays, when I publish material for markets.com, which is essentially a Pipnotic Symposium, they will be a little bit more educational. So it's not going to be pure trade setups. It will also be that, but they'll also be focused on theory as well. And I hope you guys are okay with that. I think also it's quite nice to repeat the theory on a regular basis. I find it useful for myself to go over this material out loud, and it also helps me do my analysis. So I hope that's okay with you guys. Okay, so looking at the Euro US dollar, what's it doing? What's the first thing we do when we go to a chart? Well, we go into a big time frame and we see what's going on here. You can see here that price is doing what? So we answer the question, what is currently driving price? And we know that this is an important area here because we had a lot of tests. So we had resistance here and here and here, but none of these attempts managed to hold price above this area. But what area did manage? It's this one just here, and this is where price is currently trading, and this is also where price bounced as expected. Okay, so let's mark off this area. It probably looks something like that if we take an average of the lows. So we go down to a smaller time frame just to pinpoint this area. we can see it here. So we had, and we went over this before, where we had this candle, but the body of this candle was not within the range of the previous, and this one is not in the range of the previous here. So that means that we have a continuation pattern between these two accumulation or distribution candles. Okay, and so this means that we want to mark off the high, sorry, the low of the body to the high of the wick here. Okay, and here we just have a child. So we have the parent, which is this area. We have the child, which is below. We mark that one off. We go from here to here. Okay, so price reacted to the child once. We went all the way through it 3 times, and then price managed to move above and beyond. Okay, but notice here, we're just going to mark off, these off like this, just for the sake of simplicity. It will go like that. Okay, so tested, 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 and notice that price left here, and we moved up, but we still didn't manage to trade above the area. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have to focus on the move that managed to trade above and beyond and not return. And this happened from here, just here. Okay, we have 2 accumulation candles. You can see those very clearly here. And these 2 accumulation candles are responsible for price moving above this area of supply. So we move this from here down to here like so. Okay, so if we found it, we found first of all the weekly area, which is the orange one, and then we found the daily area here. And because we have these are pretty wicky, I think we can allow ourselves to use the wicks like that. Okay, so we can expect price to move into this box and move away. And let's ask ourselves the question, well, why would we expect it to do that? Well, we would expect this to do this because, I mean, price, this area of supply was significant. Why? Because it held once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Okay, price did not manage to trade above and beyond this area until this area of demand was established. So this is the point the price would turn. I don't know if we got there. We got there. Okay, so price poked into the area and then we left. So that means that this is an important area, so we can expect price to move above and beyond this. Okay, and so now we know that we have a very significant area of demand that is currently driving price. This is a weekly demand. And so we need to find opposing areas of supply that have been consumed so that we can trade in line with this weekly demand, which is currently responsible for moving price higher. So let's have a look. You can see we had price move down, we moved up once, twice, down 3 times, and then we left. Okay, so let's mark this off, but before we do so, we have to get a little bit closer to find out exactly what's going on. Here we are. So we have this one here. This candle, the body of this candle is not within the range of the previous. The body of this is not within the range of the previous. And this one is not within the range of the previous. So that means that we have continuation patterns as price moved away. So we go from the high to the low of the body. Out there. We go like that. Price tested. We tested. Price left. But notice that, I mean, nothing happened here. Price managed to move above it. But the origin of the move that is responsible for this is where? Well, it's down here. When price left here, we had a little bounce, but then we had a small continuation pattern, which we'll analyze in just a second. And this is essentially responsible for price moving away. So if we mark off the low, because this is telling us where the beginning of the buy zone is, and we go to the 4-hour chart and have a look. Where are we? Here we are. So we had this one here. We still don't have a lot of clarity. We just have 3 accumulation candles. Let's go down to the hourly and have a look. Okay, and we have it just here. So we do our analysis once again. We had price, it went up, it went down, it moved up slowly, it tried to move through this micro supply, we failed. And this candle here is the one that's responsible for moving above this micro area and poking into this one. But notice that the black space, if we draw it off from this candle and forward, is untested to current price. Okay, so this is where we want to look to enter our trade. You can either take from the high for the candle that moved through this area here, or if you want to be more conservative, you can find these micro areas within this price structure here that are responsible for removing this micro supply here. And this is, I mean, very micro. We're probably talking 50-minute chart, because there's no demand here in this move here that has been consumed as a result of this area just up here being formed. Okay, so price moved away. So let's have a look. So we have this area here, or this area here. So let's mark those off. We have this one here, and we have this one here. So we move over here, and you notice that price took this one here. This is exactly where price came to, almost. So the slingshot was pulled back, and we moved higher. So let's have a look at that on a smaller time frame, smaller time frame. And there it is. It's absolutely beautiful, and exactly what we expect to happen. Okay, price came down, price moved away. We had a slingshot pull back and then pop, and then it popped north. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have the beginning of the buy zone is here and moves up to here. And then if you look at this little structure here, we had an accumulation candle here, more or less. Is the body of this candle within range of the previous? No, it is not. And so we could mark it off like this and like this. And the reason we do this is because here we have a parent, and then we have a child here. So this is where we expect price to react from. What I would probably do is I'd go like this, plus the spread, a couple of pips, and then do twice the size, which is like that, and then be happy with it. And this is roughly where price came to. We wouldn't have got that trade because the spread would have kept us out. That's just it's not close enough. But notice also below that we have this area here, which I actually prefer. And the software found this nice, and we've spoken about this area before. So we have this. Okay, let's zoom out and have a look and see what that looks like. So let's go to the hourly chart. Okay, so we need to find out what this area managed to remove. So we had some supply here, and this is supply because when price left here, we managed to move through this. Tested once, twice, 3 times, and slingshot was back, and then boom, gone. But notice when price came back up to here, it went through, but it actually didn't manage to trade below it. It moved back in. So this one here is actually the one that's pointing to the edge of the sell zone, because this is the one that's responsible for this this price push away. Okay, so the beginning of the sell zone starts at the high of here, which is essentially where this one has been drawn. Okay, so price went up, we fell, we went up, we failed, we went up, we failed. We had a lot of failure. So the area that is actually responsible for moving price through this area is this. It's not very clear on this time frame. There's a lot of trading around here, which kind of makes it difficult and a little bit ugly, and also potentially risky to trade these because the clarity disappears. But if we have a look at it, I'm sure we can find out where it occurred from. And if you notice here, when price was pulled back to here, we rallied, accumulated, rallied. So this is actually the origin. This slingshot was pulled back to this price level just here before it managed to leave. So price went up, we moved sideways, went up, slingshot, and then departure. Okay, so this is the beginning of the buy zone, which is a reaction to something in here. You can see we had a test. There's probably something that looks like this in here. And this is the third test of that micro demand here. It's not even demand really, is it? Because when price left here, we didn't really do anything as a result of price accumulating here and moving north. We didn't even move north. We don't have any candles like this moving away. It happened here. So this is the beginning of the buy zone, and it goes down. Okay. So if we look at that, and we have a look in here, you can see that we actually had, let me just use this drawing thing here. This is here. So we had, this is actually the beginning of the buy zone. We had this, tried, the same, and a little bit deeper, and then price left. So the beginning of the buy zone is actually down here. So this is the area that we would consider to trade. It's not a beautiful one because price has already been back to this price level here. So I just don't like when price does this. It's not that pretty, but I mean, this looks interesting here. We've also talked about this one last week, and essentially this is the one for responsible, or this level here is responsible for price departing. So we could put our entry around here and move it below here like this, just to kind of encompass the whole area. It's kind of a messy one, as you can see, but this is essentially where price left from. Okay, and you could even do something like this, where you moved it up to here, and you moved it, and you just moved it to the low here. So this would be also valid. Let's remove this one. Actually, not that one. Let's remove this one. Okay, then we have that. Remove these labels. We have that. This is at the 110.22. But I look at that, and I don't think that that's terribly beautiful. I would probably do this here, and I would move my stop below here. But I'm not going to take this because I don't like the way this looks. It's too messy. But what we will do is we'll leave this on here like that. We'll mark it off like that, and we'll watch it once price comes back to it at a late, when it comes back to it at a later time, okay? Because this will be interesting to study, but also the one just up here, okay? Good. But also notice here that, I mean, when price left here, I mean, we still haven't managed to move above it. So we, technically speaking, we don't have any shirt tearing demand yet, because this area of supply has actually still managed to contain price. As a matter of fact, if you look here, we had the beginning of the sell zone is here, and it went up to here. We didn't really have any closes, convincing closes above here, because price closed here and then we dipped directly back into the area. I would be comfortable kind of buying the lower end of here at the low of this pullback, but we still need to remove this, which has not happened. Okay, so we had the 4-hour supply here, which is tested. Price moved through it, and we poked into this daily supply, and now we're kind of moving lower. So I'm not convinced this is going to continue to move higher. The only reason I think that it might is because we're reacting at weekly demand, which I like, but we haven't showed any enormous follow through. But you could do this. If we go to the daily chart, we have 1, 2, 3 accumulation candles. The body of this is in the range of this is in the range of this, and this is in the range of this. So we could go like that. The software's already marked it off for us. It's taken the low, and you could move your entry down to the low of this candle, which is the one that left, plus a little bit more, so maybe 2 times the size. And this is the trade that I'd be more comfortable in taking here, okay? But I'm not going to do it because we didn't really go into here. So maybe even we'll have a poke back down into these areas here. We have something here. Okay, price went up, we moved, rallied, accumulated, rallied, accumulated, rallied. Maybe a pullback into kind of a deeper area here, and then a move away. But I'm not going to trade this because I haven't seen anything that I feel too comfortable with, so we'll leave that for the time being, okay? Okay, dollar, Japanese yen. What do we have here? Well, we have this. We had a really nice continuation pattern here, tested beautifully, tested, and price moved through it. Okay, we actually reacted at this child once and twice. It's gone. What area is responsible for removing that? Well, this one is up here. It moved through it. We tested kind of support becomes resistance a couple of times. We reacted to the backside of this parent and to the backside of this child, which is the one that would be in here, and now we're wriggling higher. Okay, so the beginning of the sell zone for this area of supply is here. First it was here, then it was here, and now it's here, because price is looking for liquidity, which is going to be high. If we zoom in a little bit, we can have a closer look, and you can see that we have this pretty nice pattern just here, I think. And so I think we're going to have maybe a bit of a bounce at that area. So this is where I am going to look to try and engage in the market. Before we do that, what's going on below price? What are we doing? Okay, so we're reacting at this area of weekly demand once, twice, 3 times. Notice that price, we're having these these lower swing points, price. So expecting price to continue lower for a little bit until we get into maybe deeper into this weekly demand. Okay, so I think we could certainly expect price to wriggle lower from here, shorter term, and then we can see what happens once that happens. Okay. So if we have a look here, this is a really nice test. Beginning of the sell zone is there. We have this area just here. So I think we can put that on, but before we do that, I want to have a look on the smaller time frame on the hourly chart, just to make sure that we're not overlooking anything. Okay, so yes, so here we have, okay, first of all, here we have, so here we have parent, child. This is on this time frame, of course. This is also a reaction to this one here. Tested a bunch of times, and this one did it. So we do have some micro supply. Got one there, and we have another very attractive one just here, right there. Notice that we have this one, and then price went up, and then down. So parent, child. So I would look to do something like that. Just go up to the top there. So we have that. Okay, and also we have that nice slingshot. Look how price went up, pulled back the slingshot, and then we shot lower. So we also have this one here. So price reacted at these levels here. Didn't manage to hold, price went, and price pulled back to here, and then we left. So we also have this one, which is also pretty interesting. You put your stop, I don't know, you could put it at the top here. So we have this one as well, which I like. So there are a couple of areas that we can expect price to have a bit of a bounce out there. Let's move this back up to here properly. Okay, so we have that there. So we have a couple of areas that we keep an eye on. Go to the 4-hour chart. Have this one. We have this one. And we have this one down here. This one has already been tested. Notice. And let me remove this one here because this one's gone now. Remove that. We know where the edge of the sell zone is. And we have this one here. I like this one, the blue one, so I'm going to leave that in there. I think this is a pretty interesting area. Go like that. I think the 109. I'm just going to move this away because it's in the way. So the 109.62 is going to put that in there. That's 4 microlots. Sell 109. And I'm going to let that go until I'm going to let it run for a day. $109.62. There, perfect. So now we have that. And then opposing areas that we could look for targets. We don't really have anything just yet, so we'll leave it at a 1 to 2 for the time being, and then we'll see how we fare after that. What I do like down here is we had this, which is responsible for removing this, tested once, gone, and then this, which was tested once and then gone. I like this, okay, and so we could go like this, something like that. Okay, so we'll leave that in there just for a moment, and then we'll see what happens there. Right, pound American dollar. What do we have here? Let's go to the big time frames. What's price doing? Well, price is really looking to push higher. There are all these delays with Brexit at the moment, and so this is just giving strength to the pound. So we have, what do we have? We have higher lows, which is good. Why? Because we have supply being removed, and we have demand, which is being formed and still not tested. And so how does that make me feel? Well, that makes me feel that I don't really want to trade the pound for the time being unless I'm looking on the monster time frames, because this intraday volatility can really cause a lot of crazy stuff. So you can see the price is moving higher. Okay, if we go to the smaller time frame, I like this area. I've had my eye on this area for a long time, ever since price was over here, but price has not been back to it. So I'd be keen to leave that in there. And the reason I like that is because we had this nice test and a push higher. Price came, we sat on there, and then we cut through it. I like that. If we have a look on a smaller time frame, let's see what it looks like inside. We have this, and small time frame, it's kind of like, it's still a little bit interesting. A lot of kind of testing on there, and then we cut through. I like the price cut away from there, and we actually removed this one. We had this, and this one is responsible for moving this, which was tested once. This one cut through it. This one cut through it, but the slingshot was pulled back to here. This is where the release came from. So this is valid, which makes this one valid, which makes this one valid, because this one did it. We had a test. The area that did it is here. So we can actually do something like that. Okay, to the high of this candle roughly, and this cut through it. Okay, so that's what we have here. And above here we have, let's mark that one off. But also notice, I can hear you guys having this thought, yeah, but price has already been back to this area here, and here, and here, and you're absolutely correct in assuming that. So what you could do is you could say, well, you could move this up there, which is the deepest retracement, or you could move it up here or up here. Okay, so but I think I like how the nice area was removed pretty forcefully, so I'm going to leave it on there. But I mean, this would also be a pretty interesting trade here, because this is where price tested, doom, and so matter of fact, I'm going to go like that. We'll see if I regret that. We'll see. But that's what we have. Okay. All right. Let's just leave that there, and we'll go and have a look at the American dollar, Canadian dollar. Okay. So what we're looking for here is previously respected areas that have been removed. So we have some big tests. Let's go to a bigger time frame for clarity. So we have lower highs, which I like. So we have these lows. We have that, which is gone. We have this one, which is gone. We have this one, which is not yet gone. But we have a pretty overall kind of, oops, wrong thing. Boom. A price moving lower, which I like. Okay, and so we have a bias to the downside here. So now we need to find these areas that are responsible for causing some damage. Let's find those. So we have some testing here. Price went up. There's no clarity there. Here it is. Testing. Didn't hold. This one did. So this is where, I don't know what's in here. We need to go to the smaller time frame to find it. I need to find here. You have this one here. It's about 2 times the size. And this one is interesting because why? Well, because we had these tests here. We can't really see. Can't see. Oh, we have an accumulation candle here. Tests. This one, it didn't do it. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to see on this time frame. Where do we have it? Okay, here it is. So we have this one. We have this one. A couple of continuation patterns there. These are all tested. That one's tested. This one still didn't go through them. and now this one went through it, and here we can see slingshot, release, no looking back. So here, okay, let's get rid of these because they're gone. And now let's go on a bigger time frame and see what happens. See, now this one held, and now we're moving through it. We don't see a whole lot of like conviction, do we? We don't see like really strong moves through. So price is just moving lower, and I can see kind of gut feeling we probably have divergence going on because we're not seeing this really strong move through. So what we're actually seeing here is we have price advertising lower prices, which will probably attract buyers, will probably cause price to move higher. So that's what I'm thinking price will probably do down here. If we mark off the low, then we scroll back, we can see what price is reacting on. And we're reacting on this. See, we have this little one here. Okay, it's just a nice rally, accumulation, rally, slingshot, and then release. So this is actually, you can see that when we had this one here, which was tested a bunch of times, attempt, we still didn't do it, attempt, we still came back into it, we still came below it, and then we left. So the beginning of the buy zone is at the low of this one here, because after this is where price left, or even after this one here. So you could go like that. This one's gone. Oops. This one here is gone. It happened here. This is the one that caused it. So this is where is it? So this is where the price went back to. Still didn't test it. This is where we're bouncing on now, but price, it's still holding, you can see. And so yeah, so I don't, unless price moves through there, then I think we're probably going to have a wriggle higher. And I like this one here, just looking at this simply because we had a lot of testing here. Let's have a look. If we look here, you can see that here it is. We had this test, and price went up, and then we left. So this one didn't manage. I think we can probably move this up a little bit, but I can't see where that's going to go, so I've got to remove this. Probably have to remove these for a second so I can see. What? False there. So we're seeing it release from here. This is where that release went from. Okay, so I think this is interesting for us there, because this is the one that's responsible for removing this one and this one. Okay, you see how we tested, we still didn't manage, price went up, and this is where it came from. So I'm just going to go like that. Boom. So we'll see what happens when price gets here again in the future. You can also see it here clearly. This is a candle, the green candle that left, it pulled back there and then left. So that's what we have. So we don't care about this now, we just want to sell, and we want to sell a lot higher than where price is now. Okay, good. So let's go to Aussie American dollar. Let's clean the charts off. Big time frames, big. What are we doing? We're feeding into monthly demand. That's important. It's important to know. And we're kind of wriggling around away from there. Okay, so we don't have. Let's see what we have. So we have this here. Not quite there. There. Tested. Gone. The origin of the move that moved through it is up here. But the area that did it is a little white bar here, which was almost tested. Price left. Now we're rallying up to it. Notice here as well that we're having damn, I just realized that the video was paused. I don't know for how long. But now we're on the Aussie American dollar. Notice that we have higher lows and higher highs. And so now price is just wriggling higher, and so we are I have no idea how long the blasted video was paused, so sorry about that. We have here test, gone. This one did it. Tiny little one, not quite. Moving up into this child. Now it looks like we're maybe going to move through this depending on what's going on in here. Okay, but we have that here. And also notice up here we have something here. Price left here, we moved above this. When price left here, we formed this, which moved through this one, which was tested. So this is valid demand. Now this one's gone, isn't it? So notice here what we have there. That's an important find. And notice that here it is. Tested, gone. And I really like this one here. This really looks nice, so I'll probably do like that. 2 times the area. I like that. That's a really nice area to sell out there. This is just a really nice push, because if you look here, this one's gone, tested. We formed this. It's a really nice departure, left. This one sat on it, tested. The area of the sell zone starts here, because this is where the slingshot was pulled back to, and then we left gradually. It wasn't terribly quick. We also have this one below. Oopsie daisy. We have this one here. Okay, and this is still in play. This is ugly, but I like the way price left, which is why it was qualified. So price probably came up to it and then dumped. But what did we accomplish there? Let's have a look. Well, we had this. It's kind of an ugly one, which is this one here. Accumulation moved through what? Moved through something in here. It kind of originated from here. This one here is gone. This one is there. This one looks like there's a continuation pattern in here. Kind of happened there. Let's have a look on the small time frame. Where are we? Where are we? Here it is. We have that there. Still can't see it properly. Here it is, right there. Tested quite a few times again, and now it's gone. The area that did it is which one? This one. Okay, so this is the one that caused the removal of this area of supply, which is why I'm looking to buy here. So we do our analysis of this area. We have this one, we have this one, and this one are not linked together, and so my entry is actually towards the low of here. And I think I don't know, let me see what's on the small time frame, because I had a reason for doing this. There's no clarity. Let's have a look here. Here. And so I think I took this one because this is probably the low of this candle before it released. Actually, I can't see, so I better stop guessing and start having a look, because I think actually it went back further. It went back here, went all the way back down to here. So this is where that one went. But I think kind of one of those gut feeling things, I just like the way this looks, so this is why I decided to take that. We also have this one here. I know it's terrible to say gut feeling because that's so subjective and non-quantifiable, and I apologize for that. So 2 times that size. I like that one. I like this one. 2 times the size, about there. Like that. Let's have another look at this one. Yeah, okay, now I can see on this time frame how we had kind of pull and then release, but I can see this here, so I think I want to do that. I'll leave that on there. I'll leave that on there like that, just so we can watch it. This one's gone. I like that. We don't know what's going to happen. We have this one. This is kind of, well, this is the origin, obviously, of this entire move. This is a first continuation pattern. This is a second continuation pattern. And I like this one. I'm just going to leave this one here. Okay. Of course, this is the one that caused the removal of this stuff here. And so the obvious thing to do would be to trade the one that did it, which is this one here. But I like how this one is formed, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, good. We're at 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more today. I'm going to go straight to the fractal thingy. Okay, but before I do that, I just want to show you Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. Everyone's saying, "Oh, buy Bitcoin!" Whoa, the media, buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's breaking out. That's a bunch of crap, and here's why. It's rallying. Why is it rallying? Well, we had this area of demand, this daily demand. It was tested, and it's gone. What area took it out? This one here did. Okay, and so price is just returning to supply to do what? To drive price lower. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, sit on your hands and wait. It's going to come lower. I'm convinced. And the reason I'm convinced is because I'm looking at price and I'm not looking at the media. Well, I look at the media, but I don't pay attention to it. Okay, so you have to be really careful about buying into the media, because yeah, I mean, price went higher, but that doesn't mean it's going to continue to go higher. But if you understand how to read charts, well, then you can understand that price is simply returning to supply, because it has to, because this is the one that's responsible for removing this demand. And now we have a couple of areas that we could challenge. We have this one here, which this is just like, it's really ugly and gappy and stuff, but price, the slingshot, gapped higher. Okay, so this is an important one, and price is poking into that. Okay, but we're just moving into opposing supply, I think, to drive price lower. And I'm still waiting until price comes lower. We have this area here, which was removed. The area that did it is down here. It's down here somewhere. Okay, then we have this one here, which is also removed. It's tested. The area that did it is down here. Software found it for us. Okay, so I wouldn't do anything until price comes down here. Notice that price has already been back to this area here and here, so I would actually be inclined to look lower. So look around here, which is the what? This is the 4800, and I still would rather buy it down here, because this is where we had the testing, the major testing, and then that really nice push higher. So I will definitely wait until price gets back down to here. Okay, so yeah, that's what we have there. Cool. Let's have a look at fractal. So Jonathan, when I talk about fractal, let me remove the lines here. Take those off. So we have this, which looks like that. So when I say fractal, I simply mean that, well, of course you guys know what a fractal is. It's if you don't, Google fractal and have a look at these vector graphics that enable you to zoom in to a pattern, and it's simply a pattern that you can keep zooming in, and you keep seeing the same pattern no matter how far you zoom in. It goes on into infinity. And so on a price chart we have the same thing. Okay, and here it plays out in the form of this, where you have tests taking place. We mark that off. Actually, I'm going to have to choose something as close to price, otherwise I'm not going to have data. Okay, so we have price testing these areas, and then price finally breaks away. So we mark off the area that did it, and it happened, let's say it happened down here. Okay, so we have areas respected and then consumed. Go down to the smaller time frame. We have the same thing here. This is the area that was respected. This is the area that did it. Go to the smaller time frame. This is the area that was respected. This is the area that did it. This is the area that was respected. The slingshot was pulled back to here, testing this. So this is the area that did it. Five-minute. This is the area that was respected. Where do we have it? This is the area that was respected. We didn't hold above it. This is the area that caused that to be removed. Ooh, let's download that data. For here, we go back to it. So we have, this is the area that was respected. This is the area that did it. Price was pulled back to here before it released. So this is a price sensitive area where you can mark off this like that. Okay, and so no matter the time frame that you're on, you'll see the exact same pattern occurring over and over and over and over again. And you can go from the 1 minute up to the monthly chart, and the same thing applies. And the reason this is important is because ideally we need to focus on a big time frame. We have to find something that's important. If you're trading on the 1 minute, 5 minute, 50 minute, I mean, you need to be taking your trades based on more significant areas of supply and demand. Because if you have an area of 50 minute or 5 minute supply or demand, it doesn't really mean anything unless it's residing within a much more significant area of demand. Okay, so we have this area of supply here. We think it's supply, it's not supply, it's just like a reaction to supply, the supply being up here. But unless you're making, you can trade this on the 1 minute chart, but you have to be mindful of the fact that this is a pattern that's occurring on the higher time frames. And so what you would do here is you would say, yeah, price is reacting at these highs. I wouldn't trade this. Why? Well, because we have high lows, but we're just using this for the sake of example. Let's say that we were going to trade there. We would want to look for patterns in here. So mark it off on this time frame. Let's just do this. Okay, just keep it simple. So we got that. Go to the 4 hour, and what do we have setting up in there? Oh, we have this. We have the 4 hour area price. The slingshot was pulled back, and it was released. It's here. Go to the 1 hour. Look for the same pattern. What do we have? Well, we have price. We have price moving up to these highs. It's difficult because price has already been there, but it's moving essentially up to this one here. Okay, it went almost through it, but we held, and now we left. Go to the half an hour. Kind of the same picture. Go to the 50 minute. I promise you detail will come out if you keep going smaller. Here, now we're starting to see these patterns. So keep going down. Go to the 5 minute. You can see it here. Here it is, the pullback, the slingshots here. You go to the 1 minute. If I have that. Okay, so I had to pause there to find that. So here we have our little pattern. And notice here how this is where we have like price poking into an area, then price, the slingshot being pulled back and then leaving. Okay, so you're seeing the same pattern on the daily chart. The slingshot being very subtle. It's just this green candle being pulled back. And the more you zoom in, the more you realize that actually the move originated from this. This is the origin of this. Okay, but no, of course, remember, this is not supply. This is reaction to supply here. We can see we're just coming back to the area, the high, or the edge of the sell zone here. Okay, but when I say fractal, I mean that you have patterns that you'll see on the monthly chart, and you'll see the exact same patterns happening on the 1 minute chart and even the tick chart. So it's just important, I think, for you to find your entries on the small time frames that line up with areas of supply and demand on the bigger time frames. Cool, 50 minutes. I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions, post them in the comments or in the forum. Thanks for watching.